Everyone, and welcome to our Entrepreneurship Unit 2. This is talking about the ideation process. So let's look at our learning objectives. One is to create effective survey questions to gather information about consumer preferences for a particular product, to analyze responses to identify potential consumer demand for their product, utilize design thinking principles to conceptualize a new product design, explain the process of generating ideas for new business ventures, and understand the significance of determining consumer demand for entrepreneurial success, and assess consumer preferences and understand the impact of consumer choices on product groups. So this lesson 2.1 is about determining demand. This is where our objectives for this lesson in particular are to utilize the design thinking principles to conceptualize a new product design and explain the process of generating ideas for new business ventures and understand the significance of determining consumer demand for entrepreneurial success. Let's start off by talking about the power of brainstorming. Now, this is a group activity designed to encourage the production of ideas in quantity within a designated time period. As I said, this increases the quantity of ideas, not necessarily the quality, because they can vary, but increase the amount, the number of ideas that you're interested in. Because you also get this diverse perspectives from several different people. And also, it's a low risk environment. So as part of this brainstorming process, we're going to talk about the design thinking, which is a 5 or 6 stage process, depending on what you're looking at. Design thinking is a problem-solving process that is utilized by successful business ventures in conceptualizing new product design. It starts with empathize. This is where you understand and identify with the perspectives, the needs, and the emotions of the target audience. Then you define, you clarify the problem or the challenge at hand. You identify its key aspects and its constraints. Next, you ideate. This is generating a large quantity of diverse and creative ideas without judgment or evaluation, aiming to explore all possibilities and potential solutions to a given problem or a challenge. Next, you have to prototype. This is the creation of a preliminary version of a product or a service idea to test its functionality and potential value before investing in a full-scale development. Usually when you create a prototype, you create an MVP or a minimum viable product. Testing is the next phase where you evaluate and you validate the ideas generated during the ideation phase through experiments, prototypes, or feedback gathering to assess the feasibility and the effectiveness. And finally is assessing. This is evaluating and analyzing the generated ideas to determine their feasibility, their effectiveness, and the alignment with the desired goals or objectives. Please take a look at this diagram here and notice how some of these lines go kind of back and forth, because that's what happens during the design thinking phase, the design thinking process. You may come up with an idea and you create a prototype for it, but the prototype doesn't pass the test. So then you have to go back to defining the problem or the challenge, and then recreate new ideas and create a new prototype. It kind of goes back and forth. Now, determining demand. So mainly we think about consumer demand, and this is the amount of interest that consumers have in purchasing a product or a service. Consumers are, of course, the generic term that encompasses those who have purchased or who might purchase a product or service. And again, demand is the amount of interest that consumers have in purchasing that product or service. Now, there are a lot of factors that can influence demand, and these are the main ones that generally influence demand. Price. This is the cost of the product or the service. Lower prices typically lead to higher demand, while higher prices can decrease demand. Income. This is the purchasing power of consumers. As income increases, consumers may be willing to spend more on products or services. Tastes and preferences. Individual preferences and tastes can vary widely, affecting demand for different products. Expectations. Consumer expectations about future prices, income, and availability can affect demand. Advertising and marketing. When you have effective advertising and marketing, that can increase consumer awareness and desire for a product, again, leading to higher demand. The availability of substitutes. The availability of the substitute products can affect demand. If there are many substitutes available, consumers may be more sensitive to price changes. Complementary goods. The demand for a product can be influenced by the demand for complementary goods. For example, the demand for printers might increase if the demand for computers also increases. And finally, population and demographics. Changes in these two things can affect demand for certain products. For example, an increase in the number of young people may lead to higher demand for youth-oriented products. Now let's take a look at understanding consumer needs. Product development. Understanding consumer needs helps businesses develop products that meet their preferences and requirements of their target market. Marketing and advertising. By understanding consumer needs, businesses can tailor their marketing and advertising efforts to effectively reach the target market. Pricing strategy. Knowledge of consumer needs can help businesses set appropriate prices for their products to maximize sales and profits. Customer satisfaction. Meeting consumer needs is essential for building customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. And competitive advantage. Understanding consumer needs can give businesses a competitive advantage by allowing them to offer their products and services that better meet consumer demands than their competitors. All right, so that is our lesson 2.1 on determining demand of our unit 2, the ideation process. Our objectives in this lesson were to utilize the design thinking principles to conceptualize a new product design, explain the processes of generating ideas for new business ventures, and understand the significance of determining consumer demand for entrepreneurial success.